الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله تعالى فإن الله تعالى مع المتقين وبعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when informing us about Ramadan, fasting the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although it would be bold to say the only reason, but a key reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions is the acquirement of taqwa, piety, consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence and presence. And this is something which is crucial, i.e. taqwa, consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to our existence as believers today. We are now heading as a society, or we could in fact say that we are in a place as society wherein our desires have been commodified. A person's desires are seen as a commodity to the corporations who want to turn us into a means of profit. When we look at the way that things are advertised to us today, the way that things are sold to us today, when we look at the daily actions and endeavors and in the indulgences that we as a society are engaged in, it becomes clear that the key driving force behind these things is desire. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he mentioned, as Al-Qurtubi referenced in his famous tafsir, he said when speaking to the tabi'een, to the righteous of his time, he said, إنكم في زمان يقود الحق والهوى وسيأتي زمان يقود الهوى الحق فنعوذ بالله من ذلك. He said that you are living in a time wherein the truth drives or leads desire. The truth is put before desire. Desire is regulated by the truth. He said, but there will come a time where truth is regulated by desire. Truth is led by desire. Truth is shaped to suit desire. And he said, we seek the refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from that time. Ibn Mas'ud said this. Al-Qurtubi, he also mentions one of the Salihin of the past. He said, Tarkul hawa miftahul jannah. That leaving off desires is the key to the door of Jannah. The ability to say no to ourselves is the key to acquiring a place in paradise. We live in a time wherein we're told we should say yes. We're conditioned to say yes. We're encouraged to binge, whether it's binge watching, binge eating, binge drinking, binge fornication. Any type of binging we're encouraged to do. Why? Because it makes a profit for those who have commodified our desires. We live in a society where you are told to say yes. But as believers, we need to learn to say no. To ourselves first and foremost. And some may not like to hear the word no. We're told today that we have to tone down the deen. We should speak about that which we can do rather than that which we can't do. We should make things easy for people to practice. And that's why we are becoming weaker as a community. We have to learn to say no to ourselves. We have to learn to be disciplined. And we should not learn helplessness, which is becoming the norm today. Learned helplessness, where a person makes excuses for their actions based upon their past or based upon their circumstance. As believers, we have to have the strength to look at the difficulty of our situation and still say no. And still say, I'm going to live a life which is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The successful person does not make excuses for himself. The successful person makes use of the sticks that he has available to him. Success is not about the tools. Success is not about the environment. Success is not about the talent. Success is about the culture. The culture of being successful. And one of the core elements to a successful culture is discipline. And we need to learn to be an ummah of discipline. It's a grave matter. Why? Because if we do not, we can lead to our own destruction. The Prophet ﷺ, what did he say? حُجِبَتِ النَّارِ بِالشَّهَوَاتِ وَحُجِبَتِ الْجَنَّةِ بِالْمَكَارِهِ. That the nar, the fire, the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been surrounded, hujibat, covered with what? Shahawat, desires, enticements, pleasures. The one who does not learn to say no will harm himself and fall into the fire. وَحُجِبَتِ الْجَنَّةِ بِالْمَكَارِهِ. And Jannah has been surrounded with what? That which is difficult for the soul. That which is disliked by the soul. The disciplined are those who will enter Jannah. And of course, there is no Jannah except by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those who have acquired discipline should not see their acquirement as being of their own action. Rather, it is a blessing bestowed upon them by Ar-Rahman. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those who struggle and strive in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will guide them to His paths. The one who tries to discipline himself, Allah will grant him discipline. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, الْعِلْمُ بِالتَّعَلُّمِ وَالْحِلْمُ بِالتَّحَلُّمِ. That knowledge is through struggling and striving to understand, and good character is through struggling and striving to be a person of good character. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, it's attributed that he said, if you are a sadiq with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be sadiqun with you. If you are a person who is truthful with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will grant you that which you are being truthful with Him about. If you want patience and you strive to be a patient person, Allah will grant patience to this person. If we want to be from the people of Jannah and we struggle and strive to be from the people of Jannah, Allah will make us so. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he said, as we mentioned last week or the week before, that the one who intends, the one who wishes with truthfulness. To be a martyr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant him martyrdom even if he dies upon his deathbed. Why? Because of the truthfulness of his intention, the sincerity of his intention. And a true intention, a sincere intention means action. We have to understand the graveness of our situation today as a society, as believers. Addictions have become the norm. And there are many addictions that many of us may engage in today, and we don't realize they are addictions because they have been normalized. There is no taboo about them. Addictions which we may engage in front of other people. If you are a person who has no morals, you are a person who has no beliefs, you are a person who has no care for the well-being of others, and your sole purpose is to make as enough money as you possibly can, what better way to do so than creating addicts that will become addicted to your product? Not only do they like your product, but they're addicted to your product. That's what we have today in society. Whether you look at the food industry, the beverage industry, the technology industry, you could even say the clothing and the other types of industries. They are founded upon enticement of desires. So we, to save ourselves, have to learn to be disciplined and say no to our desires. If we do not, we can only blame ourselves for our lack of discipline. As we have a framework, we have guidance, we should know better, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us to be from the ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu salam. And we have to wake up and realize the severity of our situation before it's too late. The elders have to wake up and look at what's happening to the youth before it's too late. The youth have to wake up and change their situation before it's too late. Before our problems become inherited problems by the next generation. The longer our problems are inherited, the more difficult our problems will become to deal with. So we have to wake up and we have to take this matter seriously. And for that reason, Ramadan should be taken seriously, because it's a blessing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us an entire month wherein we teach ourselves to say no. We discipline ourselves to say no. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need our hunger, our thirst. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not benefited when we stay away from our spouses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not benefited by our prayers and our recitation of the Quran. We benefit from, before anything else, the discipline in having God consciousness and applying that into our lives. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وحده وصلوات ربي وسلامه على أشرف الأنبياء ومن تبعه. اللهم يا أرحم الراحمين، اللهم بلغنا رمضان وجعلنا من المتقين الصالحين الصائمين القائمين يا مجيب الدعوات. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد، وارض اللهم عن أبي بكر وعن عمر وعن عثمان وعن علي وعن سائر الصحابة أجمعين، وأقم الصلاة.